On this episode, Jon Maddux sits down with FundLoans account executive Alexander Inda. The two speak about Alexander's recent $8.8 million funding, appraisal disparity in the jumbo loan space, why you should text your account executive at weird times, and much more.
Welcome to the $1 Million Mortgage Experience Podcast. Listen in as CEO Jon Maddux of FundLoans reveals tips, secrets, and origination ideas to fill your pipeline with $1 million opportunities.
All right, welcome to the podcast. And we're here with Alex, our top producer at FundLoans last month, and I think probably most months, right?
Well, recently I've been on a good streak,
I'd say it was a good streak. I've seen your paycheck, so I know you've been on a good streak. You do some big loans, right? I mean, I know that's what we do. That's what we specialize in, non-QM. We specialize in jumbo, even some jumbo A. But, you know, really my opinion of non-QM, the word non-QM, is really it's a terrible name, right? It's like someone thought, how can we not say, it's not subprime, but how can we not say non-prime, not subprime? Let's come up with some, crazy non-QM type of name. And it's really not representative of what we're doing because we are qualifying people and they are qualified, but I understand non-QM comes from the Dodd-Frank and all, the stuff that the QM represents. But what is your definition of non-QM?
Yeah, I would say non-QM was probably like a lazy way of labeling it when that first came out.
Yeah, I'd say so.
But it's crazy. In the majority of the files, you'll see anything from 20 to 100 document pages in a file, because we really do take an extensive look at these borrowers to ensure that they do qualify for a mortgage.
Right.
So a lot of times I think it's even more of a qualified mortgage than some.
Yeah.
Some of the products are out there like in the traditional sense, but because we do a full scope, but at the end of the day, these are great loans and we grind it every day making them work.
That's right. So let's talk about the biggest loan you just closed.
Yeah, it was an $8.8 million loan, just shy of $8.9 million. And of course, it was tough to get by. Every lender out there wanted it. Every lender out there tried. As you told me right after we closed it.
Yeah, we heard some stories that some other lenders had tried to do the loan and they couldn't do it. So it's nice to hear, when we get something done and others can't do.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a good feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Especially when you can make that call to the broker and saying, hey, we're good. We funded it. He's ecstatic. He's like, all right, let's do the next, super jumbo loan with you guys. Great income in the Orange County area, as you could probably assume in that area. But a great house.
And a pretty good LTV. It was like 47, right? Or
yeah, just shy of 50% loan of value. Mm-hmm. Owner occupied, single family. But yeah, the borrower had 3 different businesses and we qualified using all of his business bank statements.
That's great. Yeah. I know you put a lot of work into it too. It's interesting when you see most loans, I think that most lenders do are probably an average loan size of like 300,000 or 400,000, right? Like that's just, or even lower, 250, 300. What is it like to focus and just work on big jumbo loans? I know you do some smaller loans too, but I think your average loan size is $1 million or more, or something like that, right?
Yeah, definitely. And I definitely, take it all in,
Yeah, you're not going to be a snob and be like, sorry, we don't want your 300,000. I mean, we do have a cutoff, but right. For our tier 1 brokers, we'll take anything usually.
Right. And you'll be surprised, as many brokers as I have sending me 1 million plus jumbo loans, they'll have a client or a referral saying, hey, would you do this, 345, all day.
Yeah.
Essentially, once you get it down and get your guidelines down in the programs, you just kind of like copy and paste to other files and other borrower situations. Yes, there's always going to be a small difference in each file. Mm-hmm. And you're never going to know unless you ask the question, hey, right. Why is this? What else can you tell me about this bank statement loan or what have you? And by getting that full picture, you're easily able to place it. But, we do love jumbos here. And, I think our average loan amount is in that jumbo space for sure. And people could trust us with that jumbo business. And we get tons of referrals from it too.
Right. I think there's a slight difference in the way you care about a loan. And I think part of that is that you did 20 plus million last month. That's a huge number for an account executive, for anybody. But how many units did you do, right? You did 11, 12, 13?
Yeah, it was right around 13 units. Mm-hmm.
So, any other AE that I know of that would do even close to that, even 10 million, would probably have 30, 40, 50 loans in that 10 million box, right? So it's harder for an account executive to care about each one of those loans like you do, because you have less loans to care about, but they're bigger. So I think there's something to that, right? It's like it's kind of like, this is a weird example, but like, if someone has like 6 kids, like how do they spend that much time with each one of them, right? It's harder, even though you love them all the same. But, if you have less, not telling you to have less kids, but it's just a reality. Like, it's hard to give quality time to, that many loans. Like, you can give really good quality time because you only have so much bandwidth, as a human. So, do you see that too? You're able to really care and like really focus and give more time and effort to each loan that you get. Is that something that you find here?
Yeah, definitely. And I think the atmosphere kind of sets you up for that. Having, everybody here on one roof for the majority of it, like, upper management and underwriting staff and account managers,
right.
Being able to walk down the hall and say, hey, on the Johnson file, can we get this, and this, or what else do we need, or, how can we move it along? That's a big help in my ability to fund these loans, because as we touched upon earlier on, we might have 50 to 100 documents in a file because these are, alternate based lending in the, for example, bank statement could be 12 or 24 month alone in just bank statements.
Right.
So you really do need to give that extra tender love and care, and being able to be in that environment to succeed is half the battle.
That's good.
But yeah, you definitely watch these babies go across the finish line one step at a time, especially that 8.8 million. You really want to ensure that it keeps on the track, make the extra phone calls, do what you can to get all across the finish line.
So I think some people watching, I know if I was watching this, I'd be kind of wondering, where the heck do you find these big loans, right? Like $8.8 million loan, like you don't just stumble across that. Like, where do you know, like, do you ever ask your brokers, like, hey, would you get this referral? Or I'm sure a lot of it comes from relationships and referrals and stuff like that, but do you have any examples that you could share with us and the viewers?
Yeah, I think right before this 8.8, I funded a 4.7 million the month before.
Now you're just bragging, dude. Just kidding.
Well, it's funny. Yeah, well, maybe I am a little bit, but
no, that's good.
Right. The way it arrived on both those scenarios is they were their clients for a long time.
Right.
And I think what we touched on multiple times over, self-employed borrowers, they're always going to try to succeed in every facet of their life.
Sure. So maybe they had that 500K home 5 years ago, and then 1 million home 4 years ago, and then 2 million, and blew up their business, and they're like, you know what, now I'm having 6 kids, right,
and I want that $8 million home.
Yeah.
So a lot of their clients are referrals from they've seen along the way, grow.
Been in the business a long time, and they've just kind of helped them buy houses, and then just stayed in touch, and then as they succeed and you succeed, you kind of stay together, and I think I can see that.
Yeah, and that's how they got that business, and thus we advertised with the 15 million.
Right.
My 4.4 I met at a show in Vegas, a conference, and not a lot of non-QM lenders at the time were advertising above 2 million.
Right.
And we could go to 15, so it's no brainer. Priced them out right there at the conference and kind of got going.
That's good. Yeah. So you enjoy doing the big loans?
I do.
That's good. I do too. I think it certainly is a different type of. It is more work, I will say. Not always. Sometimes it's easier, right? I mean, because people have their shit together, and in some ways, in other ways, they're not. But you might find someone who has like all the help in the world. It's, when it's a jumbo loan, that they can easily just have those people send you the docs, or and things like that. So it does help. What do you consider jumbo lending? Do you consider it like million plus or 500,000 plus, or what's your definition?
Yeah, for my jumbo, I kind of consider anything above 2 million. For me, I don't know if just from my mind, I think about above 2 million.
Yeah. That's kind of like super jumbo, I'd say.
Yeah. Super jumbo. just some non-QM lenders, advertise quite a bit above, X, Y, and Z to this loan amount.
Right.
So, that's just kind of like my viewpoint. I if I really had to think about it, probably be around that range, 1.5 plus. So.
Yeah, that's good. And that's kind of where you typically need 2 appraisals, and
right.
Which kind of brings me to a good subject, appraisals. We've seen a dramatic drop in disparity, and because when you start getting into like the 2 million plus range or 1.5 million plus, then you have to get 2 appraisals, and then you're ordering through AMCs, and then a lot of times one will come in way high, one will come in way low, and I think a lot of that has with we've taken a real strong effort to fix that problem. And I think part of that is through our appraisal firewall and our chief appraiser and all that stuff. What have you seen a change ever since we hired on a chief appraiser and kind of, you know what I mean? Like, have you seen kind of a shift in that? Like, I remember way back when you started, we would get some appraisals that would be different, like crazy. Like, it's like, how can one guy think this is, or girl think this is a 3 million and the other one think it's a 4 million?
Right.
Like,
I remember I had one pretty bad that we were trying to go for a 4 million value. One came in at 4 million, the other one came in at 2 million.
Yeah, that's a big. That's either fraud or someone doesn't care and they're not paying attention, or something weird's going on, right?
Exactly. So our chief appraiser did right away. This is like right when he got on board, was able to rebut it, and we got it up like 1.3 million, something ridiculous. Which he did, mention that for an appraiser to come up that much, there's a huge issue with that, with that level of value. And for us, being in this space where we consistently do above, 1.5 to, 8, 9 million. Yeah. Appraisals are very important.
Hugely important.
Yeah, LTVs, pricing, just the ability to do a loan. If you get something, if you were going for a $21 million value and it came back at 15,
it's a massive difference.
You're dead in the water, kind of, if depending on the loan amount that you're asking for.
Right.
So those conversations of saying, hey, this is a tough report, $1 million less, has been few and far between in the last 3 or 4 months.
Yeah, I'm glad that's I'm sure helped somewhat to your volume. I mean, because without those appraisals, with the right values, you're not gonna be able to close a deal.
Absolutely. Yeah, it doesn't matter how much income you have and things like that. So.
Right. So you consistently put up big numbers, and I see you're here before I am, and oftentimes you're here after I am. Like, that's something you're working really hard. You're always there for your brokers. You're putting in the hours. You know what I mean? And it shows. So it's like some people put in hours and then they'll never, they don't have the results like you do. But there's got to be something beyond that, right? That's part of it. That's part, like, when I first started the company, I was working nonstop 24 hours a day, and like I've been able to take off a little bit of time here and there because we're doing well and things. And there's guys like you working really hard. But like, what else is it? What other things attribute to, your success, would you say?
Yeah, I think it's, my internal motor kind of just gets me going every day. As you know,
like a routine in the morning, like do you just, get up and look in yourself in the mirror and say, you can do this. Right.
Well, I'm commission only.
Right.
So nobody's driving this train but me.
Right.
One thing I've learned from you guys a lot is nobody cares about your loans as much as you do.
That's so true.
So I'll get on the road, as early as 5:30 in the morning and stay here recently until 9 p.m. Not because. Part of it's because I need to get better with time management and things like that. But, part of it too is...
You must enjoy it a little bit.
Love it. And these files are... I look closely at the borrowers, and when I pre-qual file, I want to do it 100% of the time. Mm-hmm. We're fortunate enough to have a lot of different types of programs to where, like, if something were to fall off the track for the slightest bit, I already know in my head how we can cascade down. So a lot of the times I'm spending troubleshooting and things like that with not only, everybody in this room, but our team out there,
Right.
And I think that drives the boat just as much as, my work ethic or my time, the team out there, definitely.
Like if an underwriter wants to suspend a file, they call you and they talk to you about it. And, I think that's something that let's talk a little bit about cover letters. Do you do that a lot? Like, do you make your brokers do cover letters, or do you help them do it? Or
the majority of the files, I'll do my own cover letter for the broker and for the file.
Broker. Wow. Okay.
Yes, because I know how our staff works and our underwriting team and our account managers, and I speak to them daily, you know, and our underwriters will talk to brokers and depending on what the circumstances are. But if I'm next to an underwriter every day, I know what they're thinking, and I could kind of put into words before this happens, say, hey, this is what we had in file, this is what I was thinking, hopefully we match up at the end.
And I think that shows, like, I don't know if you guys ever shop, like people shop at Macy's or Nordstrom's or whatever, right? Like, I've been to Macy's before, and it's cheaper than Nordstrom, and but you look around and there's like nobody there to like help you, right? Like, you're like, you have this in a different size, and there's no one there. Like, you can go up to the counter and there's still maybe nobody there. Like, finally there might be someone there, but you go to Nordstrom and there's someone always asking, hey, can I get you sizes? Do you need this? Do you need that? And as soon as you pay, they like walk around the counter, give you a pat on the back, hand you your, it's like a different experience, right? And like, I know, our pricing's good, but maybe we're not like the scrapey bottom, lowest price. I know that matters in some cases, in a lot of cases, but it doesn't matter if the deal never closes, right? Especially if you have a big loan, and so I think service matters, and what you're saying really kind of resonates with the service that we preach and that we talk about is it's very important to a broker that they can make sure that they close this loan and they know that someone cares about it as much as they do on the other end, because it's true, a lot of people don't care about a loan as much as the broker does. The broker cares a lot. Usually the next person to care is the processor, right. And the processor does not care as much as the broker. And then the next person after that is maybe like the owner of the company. You know what I mean? Like, there's very limited people that care about a loan, but when you have an AE like you who's fighting for that deal just as much as the broker is, like, as a team. And I know you're big on teams. You have your Inda team now. Like, do you feel like you're a team member with the broker? Like, do you guys feel like you're a team, like with most of your brokers, or how does that work?
Yeah, I think speaking to your broker, multiple times a day or a week, every broker is going to be different. Some want you to call them once a week. Some want to talk to you every day. Right. I have no problem talking to you every day. I have no problem calling you once a week. Everybody's a little bit different, but I think getting to that level of understanding each other and saying, hey, like, Alexander, you only have to call me, every other Tuesday, or let's go over the conditions once. We'll have everything. I have a broker that conditional approval comes out Tuesday night. Wednesday morning, I have everything on my desk.
That's awesome.
In other brokers, you really have to, kind of go through it. It might be the first non-QM deal. They might need to talk to an underwriter, get the full picture. Either way, I'm more than happy to do either one of those, because at the end of the day, as long as we fund the loan, then it makes sense. My repeat brokers are getting more from the non-QM side. My first-time broker, hopefully we slam it out of the park so he could have the confidence of getting more non-QM business too. Right. And that's equally as important.
I think when you do non-QM successfully and good and well, other business comes your way. So, like, I think there's a lot of people maybe watching, they're like, I don't know if I want to get into non-QM, or I don't know if I want to do this. But once you do it and you do it well, people start referring you loans. So I'm sure, like, you've probably seen, when you do a good job for a broker, they start sending you more business, and they probably get more business out of that too, right? I mean, like, I know as an originator, I've always I've always got referrals from people when I do a good job, and if it's a tricky, hard loan, because a lot of times they, I don't want to say rich people, but just entrepreneurs or self-employed people, they hang out, they talk, just like everyone else. Like, if you're a veteran and you have your specialty is VA loans, like, they talk to other veterans, right? And they there's just a circle that people have, a little sphere of influence in their groups. And I think there are, like, entrepreneurs have groups and organizations that they're part of, and they talk about stuff, and they, oh yeah, I had trouble getting a loan. You should call my guy. And then, it just turns into like more business when you're good at something. And so I think having, as a mortgage broker, having on your tool belt, having a really great non-QM AE like you or a company like FundLoans is a huge benefit to being able to get more referrals. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's It really helps. I mean, because, there's companies out there, I'm not going to name names, who do every kind of loan under the sun. And then they have a non-QM product, right? And then it's like their underwriters are underwriting a FHA in the morning and a VA at lunch. And then they're doing trying to get a non-QM done before the end of the day. And it's like, there's just no way they can do that. It's like, someone who's an eye doctor trying to do like, ears or something different, just
you might not mess it up too bad, but,
you don't want you want someone working on your eyes that's an eye doctor. That's all they do, right?
Exactly.
Only eyes. All right, so we've said in the past, or we have some videos out like that, we're the Spartans of non-QM, right? We pride ourselves because this is what we do, this is what we focus on. Like, where have you seen that in your business? Like, where being highly focused on something just makes you that much sharper, makes you that much better. Like, the Spartans were special because they were professional soldiers, right? They were like, in that movie we talked about, I think in the last podcast, that the 300, where like the Greek guys were like, one's a potter, one's a baker, one's a fisherman or whatever, and then the other guys are that's all they do is they're fighters, they're soldiers, they're professionally trained killers. So, when like an AE at another company that does a ton of different business, right? They got to remember FHA guidelines. They got to remember all these different types of guidelines. Then to try to remember guidelines for non-QM, which are so different. You don't use the same type of, a loan's a loan, but there is a lot of differences, right? So have you ever gotten feedback from brokers that have said, hey, wow, this like right off the top of your head, or you this information, like I want to work with you? Like, have you seen that happen? Like where someone's talked to like a Carrington or someone like that, and then they call you, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think quite a bit, especially with our bank statement programs. When the number one question I get usually after a bank statement scenario is like, how do you calculate income? Yeah. And I say, well, we have over 8 different ways. And they're like, what do you mean? Like, what do you mean 8 different ways? They're not used to that kind of level of options,
Right.
And the way I explain it is, not every one fit way is going to fit every self-employed borrower.
Right.
If you're a CPA that works from home, or if you're a construction guy that has 100 employees, it's not fair to do a straight 50%, things like that. So usually when I have this conversation with the broker, they're like, holy cow, like you really do not one, know your stuff, but 2, have the tools for me to be successful in my business.
Right.
And I think that's the name of the game, giving our brokers tools for them to go get more business so we get more loans.
Right.
Not only in the jumbo space, but all non-QM atmosphere in general. But going back to your Spartan reference, I think one of the big things that they were known for too is the formation and moving all in the same speed at the same time and knowing the role. And we really know our role here at FundLoans in this non-QM space. We as long as you move in the same direction, everybody's going the right direction.
Right. Yeah. It's helpful when everyone's paddling the same way, right? When like you've got a weak link, you're only as strong as that. You got to have, and one thing I will say that you've probably seen over the years, because you've worked here, how many years now?
About a year and 4 months now.
So a little over a year. But in that, because non-QM is still fairly new, right? It's starting to come of age, but when we really all work together as a team, part of that is because we've done enough loans together, especially these big, tougher loans. We've done enough of those to where we can kind of see, and through the experience, it's like if you're going out on a trail somewhere like Machu Picchu or something, we want to want someone that's it's been there many times and can tell you where to go. You don't want to go this way, there's scorpions, or we've been there and we've been down this path so many times that we've finished these loans, and especially the big ones that are tough. A lot of things that people don't understand about big loans is that there's, unless you have billions of dollars as a company, it's really tough to fund really large loans, because one, the warehouse banks don't want you to do it. They're like, oh, it's over our limit. 2, the investors don't really, they might say we want it, but then what if they don't, after a certain point, and we pool our loans together. We also have great relationships with, our investors, and it's it's a tough thing to do these big loans, but you've seen it. I mean, tell a little bit. Do you have any stories about where a broker brought a loan to you, didn't like the price maybe, and then left and then came back because someone couldn't do it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about that. 'Cause I've heard you talk about that a few times.
Yeah, and that's why sometimes, I've said this before. I don't know if I've said it in the podcast, but usually the first conversation with the broker is about price.
Yep.
And the second one is never about price because you realize there's so many people now doing non-QM, as you were mentioning. Maybe they might have like a traditional, FHA program plus a non-QM program, so they could blend the rates. Maybe I don't know what they do, but they go there, they try to make it work, spend 30 days. Next thing I know, I get a call saying, "Hey, remember that scenario? Do you take transit appraisals?" And I love that question. Do you take transit appraisals? Yes, I take transit appraisals.
That's
yes,
awesome.
you could do your scenario because I remember.
Yeah,
I did your bank statement analysis. 45 days ago.
Right.
Yeah. So now we're ready to go. Let's get it in.
Yeah.
But no hard feelings. At the end of the day, can I service you better? Can I get you a loan? Can I get your borrower a loan? Yes. Okay.
Right.
Let's do this, and then next time let's not have a conversation about price.
I think part of it is to, like, say another lender, they only have maybe one or two ways of doing bank statements, right? Let's say, and so they have their little narrow non-QM product,
right.
And they have really good pricing on that non-QM product, really low pricing, right? But only they're going to get a select number of loans that way.
Correct.
And, you might price a loan out, on the spectrum because you're not going to fit in this little box, but we have these 4 other boxes. So you're going to quote them this box, not this box or this box, the lowest, where these guys don't even know any better because this is all they have is this box non-QM.
Right.
So you could have quoted in probably a rate very similar,
right.
But with the experience that you have, you're like, you're not going to qualify for that.
Right.
Brokers typically are looking for the best rate, unless they're very thorough and they've done a lot, right? If they've done a lot and they know it's not going to fit in that little box, I'm not going to risk it and waste 45 days with these guys. So, one thing, I don't know if people do this ever, but like, do you ever tell your broker, well, why don't you just leave it here and let us get it approved, let's get it docs. And if you get them to docs too at the 3.5% or 4, whatever the rate is, take that one, but at least don't waste time and let us get you to docs. Have you ever done that strategy, or is that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny, I just kind of had a situation like that a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. It was submitted with another lender. They gave us a call. I knew exactly what program they were talking about based off what they were saying that they needed an exception for to get that one approved.
Right.
The exception was for multiple bank statements for a bank statement loan. We have no limit to the amount of bank statements we could use, so I knew it was an exception for us in this Prime program.
Right.
They were trying to go for this Prime Plus program, which I knew what it was, and the rate was the same for us as it was for the competitor.
Right.
And I told them on the phone and said, look, we have the exact same Prime Plus. You're not going to qualify. Here's your rate for a Prime
minus.
This is like an eighth of a rate.
Right.
I said we could try this way, but I'm letting you know I know exactly why you're getting denied over there. But the good thing about us is we have all these other different options.
Yeah.
They have one, we have a ton. So she brought it in. Condition approval out, the next week. I don't know if they ever got the exception, but next thing you know, we're ordering both appraisals.
Yeah.
So I am, I would never dissuade my brokers to double submitting, what have you, like you were mentioning, because if somebody else says they could do something at 3.5%, go ahead. David always mentions our EDP saying, go ahead, tell them to lock it as soon as they can, because that's a great deal.
Yeah.
And if we're off by a point or half a point, I know we'll match if it's like for like, but we believe in what we could do here, and I don't believe a concession is always warranted. If it's one of my repeat brokers that's really saying, hey, this is close, then yeah, let's have the conversation. But I believe in my ability to fund these things.
That's good
versus everybody else's.
Yeah, I like that. That's I mean, it's like being in the desert with no water. Like you trade anything you have for that water, right? It's like if you can't close a loan, then a 3% rate doesn't matter if it can't close.
Yeah, exactly.
You gotta just be realistic, I think, about, I think people have to realize that, rates do matter, but not if they can't qualify.
Right. Yeah, another broker of mine just said we have to put a pause on an approval, on an appraisal, which we already have back, because somebody else told me they could get 3.5 rate. They're not at 3.5 bar. We're doing 90% interest only, complicated tax returns. We're using bonus off the new W-2 and the new pay stubs. So just changed businesses a year and 4 months ago. So
have you ever fired a broker? Just like wasting your time so much that you're just like, I'm not going to talk to you anymore.
Have I fired a broker? I've wanted to so many times. But
nobody is watching, obviously.
Nobody is watching, obviously. But, that's not kind of my temperament. Sometimes, in this business,
you're a kind AE, right. and anyone's lucky to work with you. So I get that you wouldn't just fire someone. And there are some AEs that I've in my past where I worked with, and they were like, "Oh, it's Jon Maddux. I don't want to answer this." Cause he asked me the same question 4 or 5 times. Well,
I flat out said, "Hey, Jim, we talk to each other, not the best of ways. Do you still want to work together?"
Yeah.
They're like, "You know what, Alex? Like, I do." They'll call me back a week later, give me a new scenario. I'm like, "Okay, so we're on the same page."
Yeah.
I think as long as you're on the same page, you could have an honest conversation, be like, "Hey, Jim, you know what? I'm sorry." And then he's like, "Oh, you know what? I'm sorry too." And then it's like, you go on, move on. Because we're in the business of funding loans, no hard feelings. We don't have to grab a beer afterwards. I would love to grab a beer if you want to.
Yeah.
But if you don't want to, no problem. Just keep on doing business.
You're here to help lift the loans across the finish line. It's very true. So what do you like? What would you say you like best about, or anything you could give, like any tips that you could give, like how, like besides the cover letter, what else kind of helps separate the bad loans from the good loans? What are your brokers? What's a good tip for your brokers?
Yeah. I think I get this more so with new brokers versus like experienced brokers, but you'll get again, I'm not familiar with the FHA or the government loans, but and
that's a good thing because you only have so much bandwidth in everyone's brains, right? It's like if you had all those guidelines in your head, you would be less effective, I think.
Yeah. Like we don't do 100% down, no finance. Like we don't have those products. So sometimes when you get like a 90% loan to value, like they're like, "Oh, what do you mean? Like we needed reserves?" Like it just takes a little more time to go over those humps. But my recommendation is if you're a broker or a new broker or established broker, I would text your AE like at weird times of the day, and just to see how fast he responds, or if he does respond, because if he's responding, he knows the business, he's working the business, he might be at work, he might be at home working, And one of my brokers called me. He was in Florida. He called me at 5:30 California time, and he was like, "Call me." I answered. He's like, "Hey, I know it's 5:30, but rise and shine. Loans don't sleep."
That's right.
And it was funny, but at the same time, like he knew I would always, try to answer my phone. Sometimes you can't answer your phone if you're in a meeting,
showers,
things like that. You're at dinner with the wife. My wife got tired of me answering. She got tired of me answering the phone, but I still do. But I'll be right back. But. I would, if I was a broker, I'd text my AE at weird times and be like, "Hey, what you doing?" I think
you want to work on a loan?
Right.
2 a.m.
Yeah, because if they're up and they're at them, or if they're responding at least, or if they don't. I think
it's just what you're saying is you want brokers should be looking for people that care about their loans as much as they do.
Right. Exactly. That's my point.
If I was, doing a lot of loans out there, I would want to be working with an AE like that. Right. It's hard to find someone that cares about a loan like you do. You know what I mean? Like when you're the broker, you're talking to the borrower, it's all on your shoulders. And when you have someone on the team that's very into it and making sure that the deal's going to get done and you can trust them, that matters. It makes a huge difference, I think.
I just care about the borrowers in general.
Yeah, they're human beings, and then when they're going to the closing table, or they're it matters. Right. It's their life, right? It's not just like numbers and a paper that you just saw. It's there's humans on the other end of these who have to make their mortgage payments, but they also have to close, or they have to,
Right. Yeah.
We don't close loans, we don't get paid, and that that's what we're here for.
Exactly.
Funding loans. Talk to us about Team Inda. Just give us a little kind of overview of Team Inda.
So I hired both my brothers, Quinn and Joseph Inda, that were joining the team. I think they just finished month 1.5, so their second month.
Cool.
They funded just north of $2 million their second month.
Nice.
And they're on track to do just north of $5 million their third month.
Nice.
They're just hungry. They're hungry, and I obviously
they're like sponges too. They're like sponges. Learning so much.
Right, kind of like that Spartan on QM. If I go right, they go right, kind of thing. But they both bring completely different things to the table, and that's why I knew they would be good as a team.
That's good.
With me, helping or guiding, and they help me too sometimes.
Yeah.
And my plan is to grow the team to where we could deliver the service to all of our brokers, to answer the phone call every time. And so if I don't answer, Quinn and Joseph can answer, and vice versa. Because my plan is to really take Team Inda inside FundLoans. I want to do 30 million as a unit by the end of the year, and I think it's highly attainable. So
awesome.
Kind of the brief overview.
Have you already thought about what you're going to spend it on?
No, not well. There's a bunch of stuff we could, I want to, get a new house and things like that. But my wife wants to have kids in the next year.
Nice.
So
Six kids.
Six kids. Well, we'll do 6 kids all the way next year. Just pound it out. But
that's cool. Well, when you make good money, it doesn't matter if you're making money. You can have a lot of kids, but when you, right. It's just great. Family's great. Having a goal, having a future. What you want your future to be is huge.
Well, this business is you get what you kind of put into it. If you're a 9 to 5 guy, you're gonna get a 9 to 5 paycheck. If you're just grinding it out, trying your best to do best, and doing your internal work to learn the business and get better in your own aspect. You're gonna pay some good dividends.
Yeah, they say work smarter, not harder, but you can do both. Right. Work smarter and harder.
Right. I need to work on being more efficient, but that's why I'm here from 6 to 9 p.m. because obviously I'm not. But
I think you as you grow and as you get more experience, there's ways that you can put together like a plan and then know okay, I got this covered with Joseph or this covered, and with your brothers, you can put stuff in place to scale, I think, and I think that's what a lot of people do as they grow in their businesses. And I think brokers, they'll hire loan assistants, and they'll hire more processors or different, you have a big team, there's big broker teams that do huge numbers, and they just scale it. They just know what they're good at. They know, okay, my highest and best is not doing the bank statement calculations. I just can't do that, right? So I'm gonna find someone that can take care of that. And my best is just be on the phone all day with borrowers. And so people make calls for them, and then they get them on the phone, and then they transfer. There's all kinds of ways you can leverage your highest and best use, I think. And then finding that and knowing yourself is a key to success. If you're good at this, do more of that, right? If you're bad at this, don't do that, and hire someone else that's great at that. Put them in that seat. Like you said with your brothers, they both have different strengths, right? So by doing that, you're able to grow and scale your business, which is just going to get you to 30 million sooner.
Right. Yeah. After 6 months, we plan to be a full Pistons. Right?
Yeah.
So broker visits. Everything, every which way to just show up at a broker office and say, "Hey, here we are. Just let's go through every file you guys have, and all of us be subject matter experts." That's
good. Well, how does someone get approved with us, and how does someone get to have you as their AE?
It's quite easy to get approved. We utilize, Convergence, and our broker package is pretty quick to go through. It was just redone. We just revamped the whole broker approval process. So onboarding has been pretty efficient, and with a nice greeting at the end. And once you get approved, it usually takes about 24 to 48 hours, depending on the package, and some things that the brokers need to collect. Then we could start submitting right away.
Nice.
To get, we have a pool of AEs here in the office. We all have, on the website, you could find us, LinkedIn, big presence there, things like that. So there's a lot of different ways to find an AE here at FundLoans. So
you're not just in one state or one city. You can work with brokers in any part of the country that they want to do loans in the states that we're licensed in, and right.
Yeah, I'm closing loans in Texas, Florida, Hawaii, Oregon, Washington, and California this month.
Nice.
But we're licensing, Colorado, Utah, Maine, Wyoming,
You say
Georgia,
Maine? Maine?
Montana.
Don't send us any Maine
Not
loans.
Maine, Montana. So
No, it's true. I mean, but we're adding states too. So there's a few others that are on track to be getting us to 20 states, I think, here soon. So that's good. Yeah. Also, we have some announcements coming up pretty soon for automation, which is really cool. So some cool stuff coming to non-QM. Even though we hate the name non-QM, it's what we do.
right, exactly.
Anything else you want to leave the broker community today?
I mean, just be out there grinding, and I'll be grinding with you guys. Let's do it one loan at a time. Not every loan's going to be easy, but we're going to be able to get them done.
That's awesome. Mm-hmm. Please like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends about our podcast. It'll not only help you, but help them, help us. And call Alex.
Call me.
See you next time. Thank you for listening to our podcast. If you guys are looking for more content like this, we have a FundLoans YouTube channel where we give away more tips, secrets, and origination ideas. You can also email us at info@fundloans.com. And if you've made it this far, I think it's safe to say you like our content. So please subscribe, share, and send us your scenarios. Let's fund loans together.